Story 1. I used to work with a guy. We used to call him Roid Rage. He was very muscular, very masculine, and let everybody know both those things about him constantly. One day, I'm sitting next to him in the break room and he's talking to me, unprompted as always, about how he went to attend an award ceremony for his son who won something regarding his football performance. I said, "Well, that was nice of you to go and support him." "Nice," he said. "It was fucking sad, man. That used to be me. Now I'm the old guy in the room who has to watch someone else win something I should have had." And all I could think was, what a loser. You can't just be happy for your son and be proud of him because he won this award. You have to make it about you. At first, I used to be amazed at how people like this can even exist. Losers who live vicariously through their kids. Be proud of your kids and their accomplishments. That's a good thing. But folks like the one you're talking about are more common than I ever would have expected, and I didn't discover this until I was in my 30s. I mean, you're not dead, dude. You can still do things and be proud of them. Why the hell is this guy envious of a high school award? Those are for children. Story 2. My ex-stepmother constantly bragged about being a cheerleader in high school and winning a beauty walk in a town of like 500 people. She was still bragging about these the last time I saw her. She was in her mid-40s. Story 3. It doesn't get better once you grow up. I told a sub-teacher at my school that people told me this all the time, and she told me the only people that say that are the ones that peaked in high school. I miss her every day. One of my high school teachers explained it like this: don't let anyone tell you that these are the best years of your life. It's a lie. Your high school years actually suck. If you go to college, you'll make friends with people based on shared values, not because you've been in the same school since grade 1. You have more fulfilling relationships, more freedom, and as the years go by, more discretionary income. And just when you think it can't get any better, your children grow up, move out of the house, and leave you with the freedom and time and money to do damn near anything you want. But you'll never be this thin or pretty again. So enjoy that. Story 4. I graduated in 2005. I was sitting at a tire shop waiting for my truck to get done, and an employee slightly older than me walked up to me and asked me, with no previous interaction, if I played football in high school. Wondering where this was going, I responded that I did, but I wasn't great at it. He asked what school I went to, and I told him. Then he starts talking about himself. How he was all conference and walking me through all of his high school accolades. I never asked for this conversation. I just sat there wondering why this nearly 40-year-old, wildly out-of-shape tire shop supervisor was telling me all of this. Then, just as soon as it started, he bid me good day and walked off. It was bizarre. The best comparison I could make was that he was like the manager Dan from the movie Waiting. That was his vibe. That's how I knew he peaked in high school. Story 5. In my experience, it's the people that talk about things that happened in high school as if it were yesterday. Constantly. I had an ex who would always tell me crazy stories. I'd ask, when did this happen? She would say sophomore year, and we were in our mid-20s. Over time, it became clear that high school was the best years of her life, and most likely will continue to be, as she didn't have much ambition after high school. I had one good year in high school and reminisce about it every now and then, but it's not on the forefront of my mind. Story 6. I had a teacher who said these are the best years of your lives. Since I graduated in 2003, every single year has been better than every year of school since I can really remember. High school was fucking awful and seriously depressing. I had to work as a janitor through grades 11 and 12 to pay rent. I dropped out with one class left to get a union construction job. I'm back in university now getting an engineering degree because I have worked to get my life in a position where this is possible. Story 7. I had a conversation in a bar with a drinking buddy years ago. The guy kept going on about the one that got away, how perfect she was and their chemistry together, how natural it was, how he hasn't felt that way about any girl since, yada yada yada. He was feeling pretty sorry for himself and uninterested in meeting anyone else because they could never compare. When I asked how long ago it was that she moved away, he said 8th grade. Story 8. Anybody who actually says, unironically, that high school was the best time of their life. I don't feel like I was even a real person until after college, and my late 20s, low 30s are better than any time previously in my life. I can't imagine peaking in high school. Lots of good comments, but a lot of them are, well, what about this example? Or actually, I enjoyed high school, and I was just making a broad statement, so obviously exceptions apply. For what it's worth, I had to move during high school, and I was a jaded bitch. I almost had no friends in my new school, and I was glad to get the out and never go back. Thankfully, I had and still have many friends from my high school that I'm always thankful for. I didn't know who I even was or what I wanted to be in college, and I didn't figure that out until my mid-20s. So for me, the thought of peaking in high school is insane because I can't relate to that experience. But I know that some people certainly do. Story 9. This is a weird thread because I've grown a lot as a person since high school, but life has been unkind to me since then. I look at high school and realize that life was the most stable and kind to me back then. Story 10. I talk about when I was in wrestling for high school from time to time. For me, it was the only positive moment in high school. My best friend since we were 4 years old and I were on the team and training partners. We had a blast and took nothing too serious. Just the pure joy of beating the crap out of one another in practice and still being friends after it was over. He died when he was 24. It's been almost 7 years without him. My world is different without him in it, and talking about those days keeps me alive. I didn't speak in high school. I wasn't popular. I never went to prom. I never even had a girlfriend. But those days are the few good memories I have left of him. Before he died, he was in a downward spiral, and I refuse to remember him that way. That's not who he was. Story 11. If they are in their 30s to 40s and they wear their letter jacket outside of things like high school reunions where it's only barely appropriate, they still brag about their high school GPA or any accomplishment they made in high school. They wear their high school class ring outside of things like high school reunions. High school could have been fun. It's fine to reminisce, like how at my high school they made a random freshman swallow a goldfish whole as a school-sanctioned event. But if it defines you still, you peaked in high school. Story 12. I'm married to a man I met in high school, and I can tell from people's reactions when I say that some people assume that means we peaked in high school. But those reactions are split 50-50 with people who think it's super sweet and adorable like a fairy tale. It's always funny to tell someone new about it and see which side of the line they land on. For the record, in high school I was painfully socially awkward and being abused by a person I thought was my best friend. And my husband was constantly on the verge of failing out because he didn't find schoolwork interesting or challenging. But now he's got a great career and a lot of very engaging hobbies. Those were absolutely not the best years of our lives. In fact, the only reason I remember high school fondly is because that's where I met him. Story 13. My sister is one of these. Most frustrating are these moments. Her, you were never good at math. Me, I have a degree in robotics, a very math-heavy subject. Her, well, I took a high school math class that earned me college credit, so that is better than what you have. Me, you were comparing one high school class against an entire college degree. Her, I earned college credit. Me, maybe at most 3 hours. And you would have to find a school that would accept those hours. And you graduated over 20 years ago. What you have is pointless. Story 14. I had a good time in high school, so I'm probably labeled as someone who peaked in high school by others. I've just learned to embrace it. I'm secure with myself enough to be satisfied with what I've accomplished afterward, that I still put in the effort to organize the band alumni night every year. Someone's got to do it, and it's something I enjoy. But I'm always personally involved with organizing a lot of things separate from high school events, so it's just something I've always done. If you didn't have a good time and you don't want to be reminded of it, don't come. Easy peasy. If you want to see your friends and support the current band, then come see me to get your name tag at the table by the band room. I'll be here with a pen. Story 15. When they call themselves a retired mean girl, when they live through their kids, when they believe that teachers have something against their kid because their kid gets in trouble, people who kept their full uniform for the purpose of just keeping it. People who made fun of what other people were wearing to prom, or the girls that told other girls to change because they brought the same color dress. Story 16. Cheer moms. I find cheer for young girls incredibly creepy. Because I don't want to see your 8-year-old in a tiny skirt, a face full of makeup, and big hair. I think being on the squad in high school is fine, because it's an extracurricular. The whole cheer mom clique screams high school to me, and I'm glad my daughter isn't interested. I have always been creeped out by cheerleading culture, even as a kid. My daughter is interested in gymnastics, but I don't know if that's much better. Story 17. I still see them around our hometown hanging out with the same people. They ask if you're coming to whatever reunion is new. One girl I know still goes to all the football games in her cheer uniform. Story 18. 40-year-old dude bro who only got his job because his buddy is the boss. Wears basketball shorts all the time, loose, brightly colored shorts, athletic shoes with no socks, and a backward neon yellow hat. He yells at his employees because he's in charge, and it's how he behaves when he coaches kids football. He walks around with his chest puffed out and a strut that he thinks looks intimidating but only looks like he has hip problems. He talks like he's still in high school and calls everyone bro. Everyone calls him by his last name. Unfortunately, I just described my former boss. Everything about him screams peaked in high school. The less I dealt with his steroid-addled attitude, the better. Story 19. I'll probably get hate for this, but as someone who was big in high school and now opposite, seeing all the people that used to be so unkind to me get fat made me realize a lot of people peak in high school and then have babies with all the same people from the same class and remain in the same dusty old town we grew up in, peaking by having children and sending them to the same schools we went to, and the cycle continues. Move out of your hometown so you don't peak in high school from karma for picking on the fat person just to get fat yourself. Just commenting to say that I have 3 cousins who are all sisters. I'm an only child. They would gang up on me whenever I was forced to hang out with them, and they would all subliminally call me fat and ugly. Well, guess who are all now fatter and uglier than me? Relatively irrelevant to this thread, but I always say they got fat because of karma taking its sweet time. Story 20. 10 years ago, a member of the local Moms Club posted a picture of a person I graduated with, along with a description of his vehicle as part of a creepy alert. He was still driving the car he had in high school. We graduated in 1985. Story 21. I had an abusive boyfriend. One of the things he told me was how disgusting I am because I didn't have many friends in high school. Meanwhile, he did. He said he was so popular and deserved someone who was popular too. He said this to me when he was 26. Story 22. Wearing their Letterman jacket after graduation. The moment the robe comes off, that jacket needs to go in a box. Wearing it post-graduation says that their life peaked the night they scored 4 touchdowns in a single game while playing for the Polk High School Panthers in the city championship game versus Andrew Johnson High School, including the game-winning touchdown in the final seconds against their old nemesis, Bubba Spare Tire Dixon. I saw someone from my high school days wearing their jacket a decade later. I chose not to engage. This baffles me, but that also could be because I had a really forgettable high school experience. Never was involved in anything that would warrant a Letterman's jacket, and almost came from a lower middle class family that didn't spend money on yearbooks, class rings, spirit wear, etc. But aren't those things expensive? I can't imagine spending all that money on a jacket just to put it away forever only a couple of years later. What's the point in having that cool-looking, well-made, warm jacket if you can't ever wear it again? Could it be repurposed by taking the patches off or something? Story 23. I got a buddy that was hired at the local restaurant as a dishwasher as a kid around age 13 and 14. It was early 1980s, 83, 84-ish. I went home for a visit in 2022, and he was still there doing dishes and now cooking. All I can say about this is I'm happy for him. We chatted for a bit, and he couldn't be happier in life. Always has a smile on his face and loves the stress-free world he lives in. Just because you think they peaked doesn't mean they have. They could just love where they are in life. Story 24. I didn't really have much to do with my hometown after graduating high school, but about 3 years later, I saw their football team was doing really good, so I was like, f*** it, I'll go. I ran into a dude I graduated with that was wearing his Letterman's jacket. Story 25. Pushing cliquey behavior in any setting. Like, I'm thinking of moms making videos about how stay-at-home moms versus working moms drop their kids off at school. Comparing X type of mom to Y type of mom. We dance moms do X. Regular moms do Y. When the teacher knows you're a insert mom. Or, at a job I had, there was one girl who clearly wanted there to be an in-group. Pushed inside jokes, saving a seat at a table, taking lunches together, at a call center. To me, it screamed trying to recreate high school. Anytime any adult is pushing an us versus them or cliques in a social or work setting, it screams high school to me. Story 26. This may not mirror your experiences, but almost all of the most popular kids at the high schools I attended were genuinely likable, intelligent, and hardworking. They all went on to be at least moderately successful, well-adjusted adults. The people who peaked in high school were already kind of losers in high school. Story 27. The popular girls in my middle school used to tan, like, every day, or so it seemed. Apparently, one of their parents had a tanning bed and they would all go over there and do nothing but tan. I swear I had like 4 to 5 chocolate or orange girls in my class. We're talking Swedes here. They stuck out. I haven't seen any of them in like 15 years, but judging by the few photos I've seen, they didn't stop tanning. Every time I see people who overdo tanning or makeup or put in their lips, I just, Story 28. When you only have high school stories. Me and my friends sometimes talk about the fun times from school. Good times when consequences were lessened and everyone was still alive. We've had great times since and are honestly much better people now. But something about those old days are so pleasant to remember. It definitely did not seem so great then. But we see the past through rose-colored glasses. Story 29. There's this guy who, until recently, had nightmares about losing a martial arts match to his high school rival in the 80s. 84, I think. So one day, he just quit his day job, opened his own dojo, and rekindled his rivalry with his high school nemesis. I don't feel too bad for him, though, because since then, he has mentored his young neighbor, along with a bunch of other high school kids, bonded with his estranged son, met a new girl, opened a new dojo, and dealt with unfinished business with his old tormentor, all while accidentally sparking a juvenile karate war in his neighborhood. Story 30. Being mean and picking on people's insecurities as their only form of conversation and entertainment. Nothing screams I peaked in high school like an old jock messaging me if I'm interested in crypto, since I seemed like a cool guy back then, to I would have absolutely wrecked you in the weight room, when I declined his invitation to lose all my money. Story 31. My uncle, who is 55 years old, has his high school senior picture as his Facebook profile. He also has his Letterman jacket on display in his office. He's also named all of his dogs after teammates from high school basketball. Story 32. My ex had football awards, the hot bombshell girlfriend, parties, popularity. How did I know? Because he bragged about it constantly. After graduating, while training to be a professional athlete, he got seriously injured, so the dream was over. He went to university, but did nothing with a degree, frequently between jobs, only working menial ones for family-owned companies. Any other jobs, he would find a reason to quit them in less than a month. Popped prescription drugs like candy. He literally did not remember conversations the next day, and also struggled with a crippling pornography addiction. It was a terrible, toxic relationship, but I really hope he gets some help, because if he ultimately just lets his obstacles beat him and pisses away his life, he'll have a depressing future, and blaming circumstances only goes so far.